All right, we are live.
Hello and welcome back to What's the Tea? My name is Lysandra Hutchinson and I am the Community Outreach Specialist here at Anew. And for those of you guys that have been with us a long time, you know that at this point,
Hutchinson and I am the Community Outreach Specialist.
once a month, we are highlighting a special guest or featuring a particular work that's related to the work we do here at Anew. And so today we have with us Emily. I don't want to get your last name wrong. So it's Henrichsen.
Henriksen.
Okay,
Close.
awesome. I'm close. And so we have Emily with us today, and she is from the Illinois Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about that organization and what she does there, what brought her to that work, and also learn about the Leadership Academy, which I am a part of right now and am thoroughly enjoying. And so we really wanted to highlight the work that really they're leaders here in the state of Illinois. This is an organization that is leading the domestic violence movement, is a part of that leadership. And so it's just a pleasure to have you with us today, Emily. So if everyone that's watching, be sure to share and grab your favorite tea and join us. And so Emily, if you could just start with telling us who you are, what you do, and just giving us a little bit of insight into what happens at the Illinois Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me here. I'm very excited. So I am the Director of Training for the Illinois Coalition Against Domestic Violence, or ICADV. And ICADV is a statewide voice for survivors of domestic violence and their children. So we have the coalition, which is made up of over 50 member organizations that provide direct service to survivors, Anew, of course, being one of those programs. And then so we have this coalition that's made up of the programs and the work that you all are doing, but then we also have our small little staff here at ICADV and we try to provide as much support as we possibly can to our member programs so that we can help everyone provide the best services as possible to survivors. So yeah, we work with all of our member programs throughout Illinois to end domestic violence in the state. That is our ultimate goal. I personally, as the Director of Training, I of course organize and host virtual and in-person trainings. We finally get to have some in-person trainings. We're kind of making our way out of the pandemic a little bit. So that's really exciting, but most of them are still virtual. Almost all of our trainings are open to the public, and we're kind of working right now to figure out a way to what our process is going to be in the future on advertising our trainings to the public, because they've always been open to the public, but maybe not advertised in a way that people would know that. And just a fun little fact, since last year, since July of 2021, we have hosted 10 trainings that have been open to the public, 2 trainings that require applications, the Leadership Academy being one of them, and 4 webinars in collaboration with Envision Illinois. So that's a lot of trainings that we've been hosting this year. Yeah.
Wow, 10? That's
yeah.
Wow.
It is a lot.
That is awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the training content usually entails?
Yeah. We actually have most of those 10 trainings, not quite, are annual trainings in a way. So we have like a general topic that we're going to talk about every single year, but then the specific content differs. For example, we host a management training every year. We host a children's trauma-informed services training every year. And a lot more. But of course, the actual stuff we're talking about and the topic of the training that year changes. And we determine what that content is going to be in a lot of different ways, from getting feedback on evaluations of trainings from previous years. And we do a training needs assessment every year, in which we get a lot of suggestions on like topics that programs really want to learn more about, and that determines the trainings we offer the following year.
So that's awesome. So this really, it serves the public, but it truly serves the member organizations.
Yes.
Doing that, you actually get their feedback and get an understanding of what they're hungry for and hoping to learn more about. Okay, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
Yeah. So can you speak more about the Leadership Academy?
Yes, I love the Leadership Academy. It's kind of my favorite training because, um, you
Okay.
know,
Yes.
so it's a year-long program, which is one of the reasons it's so amazing. You really have the chance to connect with the people that are in the academy with you, get to know them better. It's not just a training you go to for a couple of days and then you work to apply the information to your work yourself. The goal is really to help people apply that and know how, like, work on that throughout the year. So it focuses on building new and diverse leaders within the movement to end domestic violence. And it does so by providing hands-on leadership development opportunities for staff from domestic violence agencies, other allied professionals, and survivors, especially those that represent underserved or underrepresented communities. That's the purpose and the hope of the Academy. It really is open to the public in terms of, if somebody applies and they aren't employed by one of our member organizations, that doesn't matter. If they show that they are working in the movement to end domestic violence, whether personally or professionally, or they're just interested to learn more about how they can do that, they are welcome to apply for our academy. And previously we were accepting 25 people into the academy each year. This year we just did 15 because we really thought that the smaller group would uh, build better community within the cohort and provide better learning opportunities. Um, and we really mean it when we say that we're trying to lift up diverse voices, because when we are reviewing the applications for the Leadership Academy, we also consider what people have self-disclosed as their identities. And we make sure that we aren't picking, honestly, all white women to be in this program, getting the opportunities that they've always gotten,
Mhm.
to have.
Yeah.
So we make sure that we're pulling together diverse voices, but also people from throughout the state. So not everybody from Northern Illinois, not everybody from Southern, just making sure that people are represented throughout the entire state.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You talk a little bit about the importance of raising diverse voices. Can you expound upon that a little more? Just, I think that that's a conversation we have within this movement, but someone watching may not really understand why it's important to have diverse leaders in domestic violence advocacy. Can you say
Yes.
more about that?
Yes, thank you for asking that too. Um, it's important because domestic violence programs serve such a wide array of people. And also not just women, right? We serve all genders. We serve all races and ethnicities, gender identities. And even though we most commonly are serving female survivors of domestic violence, that's not everybody. And so we want to make sure that people are getting the leadership opportunities and learning how they can help kind of put themselves at the table to make decisions, or how we can help them get to that point where people are listening to them when they do represent underserved or underrepresented communities. Because if we're going to adequately serve this wide array of survivors, we need people who represent them, who can speak to some of their experiences or the barriers they may face in receiving access to services. And we want to make sure that we have those people in all of these programs that are helping to make decisions. So that is why it's so important.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I think that having a leadership academy, the one that you guys are facilitating, is really important and really instrumental. And it's also bringing people together around really important topics. Everything we're discussing, it is broadening us, it's stretching us. We're getting a lot of information.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
And it's on such a big variety of topics. I should probably mention that it
Yeah.
goes from like general leadership topics, you know, building our leadership skills and our ability to communicate in healthy ways as leaders, but then also, you know, we just came from a session that was about storytelling for social change and how to do empathic storytelling, which is just one of my favorite sessions. It's so powerful. But we also have a session. Our last session was anti-racism and white supremacy. Our next session will be about community organizing. And throughout the whole academy, we're talking about action plans and how do we take what we're learning in this academy and actually develop a project in the last session that we can introduce to our agencies. And so it really, we tried to make it like applicable and say, how can we take this as a program and bring it into our agencies?
Absolutely. It's very practical, very practical, very applicable. Can you tell us about how many applicants do you receive each year for the academy?
It definitely varies. This year, I think we received 25 to 30, that maybe, I think around 25 applicants. And I think that that's about right. I think last year we had received more, but we only accepted 25. And this year we like brought the number down. So if we had stuck to 25, most people would have been accepted. But again, we wanted to we'd try a smaller group. But I think that's usually around how many we get each year. And I get emails throughout the year where people are saying, hey, I'm interested in applying. Can you give me more information? And I just add their name to my little document that reminds me to email them when the applications are open.
So if someone sees this interview, how can they apply and when does the application open?
So they can apply by emailing me, which is my last name. Actually, we'll make it easy. I have 2 emails I can use. So you can email me at training@ilcadv.org and just say that you're interested. You could also go on our website and there's like a contact page and you can send us a form submission and it'll also get to me. The easiest way would be to email me and then I email people, let them know when the applications are open. Typically it is around like November. I'd like to do it a little sooner this year, but we try to at least do it by November.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. We probably can, Celeste, can we provide that information in the chat after this? I think we can do that. So
yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So let me ask you, Emily, what brought you to this work? How did you find and what motivated you?
Sometimes I don't even know how I got here. I'm glad I got here, but I've always been passionate about helping people who experience domestic violence, but I didn't know what that meant. Honestly, I didn't even know that there were so many programs throughout the state that were serving survivors. No idea. I went to college at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, and there's literally a program there. I had no idea. So I don't think I knew it was a possibility to do this work, but I did feel passionate because I had friends who had experienced domestic violence, people who either they had told me about their past experiences and I just learned more from them, or people who were experiencing it as I was friends with them and I was, talking them through things. And I remember just never quite knowing how to help. And I wanted to, but I didn't even really know what to say to my friends, just to be there for them, which is the biggest thing. But I didn't even know if that was what to do. I had no idea. And when I was in school, I got a master's degree in organizational communication. So I had some experience in training and organizing large events. And I was looking for like, okay, what is my career going to be? Like, I'd gotten out of school. I'm like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I want to do something important. I don't even know what that means. Um, and I came across the posting for ICADV for the director of training position. And it just felt like, I don't know why I thought that I was qualified to do this job. Apparently, I am. Like now I know I am. It was definitely imposter syndrome, right?
Right.
But like I just was like, I have to do this. Like this would use my skills, but also like I could finally learn what I could do to be helpful. So that's why I came here. And honestly, it's been the best job I've ever had. And I'm just I'm learning all the time.
Yeah. Wow. So what have you found most challenging about this work and at this point?
The most challenging thing is probably just that it can be hard to talk about all the time. You
Mm,
know, people who are serving survivors um, frequently get burnt out and have vicarious trauma. And I'm not even providing direct service to survivors, you know, but
yep.
like it is hard to hear sometimes how big the issue is.
Mhm.
And you know, sometimes it can feel like, because change doesn't happen overnight, sometimes it can feel like um wow, we're doing so much. Do people hear it? Do people know? Are we helping? And we are.
Yep.
But when you sit there in the moment, it can be hard sometimes. So that's the most challenging thing.
Yeah, that's an awesome perspective that I think most of us share, and that's why there is an emphasis on self-care for
Mhm.
those of us that are advocates for that reason, because it is heavy. It's very intense and can be very emotionally jarring and just a heavy weight to carry if we're not balanced. So I completely identify with that.
Yeah.
What about the most rewarding aspect of this work? What have you found to be the most rewarding?
I say the most rewarding thing is just that I just said this, but I'm learning all the time. Like with my role specifically, you know, I'm not providing the trainings myself. You know, I'm working with experts in specific areas of the field. And I never thought I would know this much about the dynamics of domestic violence and how to serve people. But I mean, I'm a nerd for learning. And like I like attending trainings myself. So I get to
Oh, it's
do
good.
something, you know, helpful, but also I just feel like I know so much now.
That's perfect. That's an awesome way to transition into a career. It's awesome. It's an awesome
Yeah,
opportunity. So let me ask you, what how would you describe the impact that the coalition is having on survivors in particular? How do you think it translates into their everyday life?
that's a great question. Um, we have a lot of areas that we focus on as you know, ICADV staff, the coalition as a whole. And some of those are policy advocacy, training and technical assistance, um, member support, and public education, I would say, are some of the big things that we focus on. And sometimes it can feel, because we don't typically do direct service at like the coalition staff, um, sometimes it can feel like it's not impacting survivors directly, but we know it is, you know. Um, and so just an example, like with policy advocacy, we have staff members who are constantly advocating for laws that positively impact survivors. and that keep them safe. We're also working to prevent policies or change language in laws that would harm survivors or make it more difficult for them to seek the services that they need, or have access to the services they need and make decisions for themselves. So even though we may not be working directly with a survivor right here, we're trying to make it so that like there aren't all of these policies that are just working against survivors, because it can really feel like there are sometimes. We also, in our support that we provide to member programs, because that's a big focus that we have, is making sure that like organizations can do what they need to do, that they have the capacity, the funding. And when we're doing that, and we're really, it trickles down to make sure that survivors are getting better services, because maybe they have more capacity to have more employees, or maybe we, and this is a very specific example, but like even providing technical assistance around what funding do you have, and like how can you move things around so that you can support different programs or different services for survivors. So that's kind of how our support to organizations can also impact survivors in a positive way. Training seems like another kind of indirect way, but we're trying to improve organizations' responses to survivors. And I think, yeah, those are the biggest things. Oh, and of course, public education, just trying to raise awareness about domestic violence, and helping people have a better understanding of it.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. That's awesome. It's a very comprehensive work. And what do you think as an organization are some of the greatest challenges to accomplishing all of this?
That is such a good question. I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is like stigma in a sense, and even stigma around. So I mean, there are all sorts of myths about survivors and abusers, you
Yeah.
know, and like they're very commonly held beliefs that make it difficult, or can make it difficult, for people to seek the services that they need, or to even know that they can talk about these things. You know, it's not something you can't talk about. We can definitely talk about it, and in doing so, we kind of take power away from that, showing people that they have people who are standing behind them, and will support them in the choices that they make. I think also there are so many intersecting struggles that people face. So somebody who may be experiencing domestic violence may also be challenged with substance use. And because there are stigmas around substance use, then they may also be less likely to seek services, or feel like people will support them because of that, which isn't true in the work that we do. But yeah, I think that that's a big thing. So at ICADV, you know, it can be difficult to dispel these myths that have been around for so long and that are so core to what people think about domestic violence.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. I think that through education, because you guys are focusing on education, I think that that is probably one of the most promising ways to do it, to debunk the myths. But that
Mm-hmm.
definitely makes sense and is very true. And I think all of us as advocates see that at some point in our work, or hear about it firsthand. What about wins that the organization has had? What do you sense to be some of the wins that you guys have had, whether through the pandemic or just in general?
For this is specific to training, which of course I just know best. We've definitely learned that we have way more capacity for training than we maybe thought we did, because we went to virtual. And although like in-person trainings are so much more impactful, we have found some kind of best practices for virtual learning. I'm constantly learning and growing that capacity, but like I feel like we're able to offer more trainings because people can attend more trainings because, you know, if it's a webinar, you don't have to be on camera, you don't have to be talking, you can like be like, okay, I'm going to take this like 2 hour break out of my day and I'm going to focus on this. But also if somebody comes in and there's a crisis, I'm here still. I can still like respond to it. But not training related. Um, and I wish, because it's not my area, I can't remember the exact numbers and everything. Maybe you know, but we recently got a huge increase in funding, and it's specifically supposed to go towards building organizations' capacities to serve diverse people.
Yes.
And staff, like hiring more staff and paying staff more.
Yeah.
And that was a huge win.
Absolutely, absolutely. So funding has increased dramatically in the state of Illinois for domestic violence services this year. So that has been a huge win. And thank you to the coalition for all the work that you guys have done around that. You know, I think that that is exciting, especially for work that, as you said, can move so slowly. And you can,
Mhm.
are we making any changes? Is this helping? Are we doing it? And then to have those kind of moments where you have really big, significant wins that are quantifiable too, you know, that's a part of it that feels really good. So that's awesome. How about the future of the coalition? What can we expect to happen within the next 3 to 5 years or so?
We actually have some pretty big goals for the organization right now, and we've been talking about it a lot, mainly because we've reached the beginning of fiscal year 23. So for people who don't know, that means it's July to July rather than a calendar year. Um, so we are talking about the grants that we have, things we're going to apply for, and just really evaluating like what are we gonna do? How can we make our services even better? So we definitely are hoping for growth in our technical assistance to programs, which, you know, means it's basically support in a lot of different ways to programs. So the technical assistance team is working on more proactive approaches and building in more time to spend directly with programs to talk about things. So making sure that we can provide very much hands-on support. Within policy advocacy, we want to get ourselves to all of the tables where systems are talking or taking on the challenges of violence in communities. So really trying to get ourselves at those tables to help inform decisions, and also be informed ourselves to make sure that we are, you know, being helpful. And also we'll have continued advocacy for the implementation of Illinois laws that support survivors. And of course, trying to better inform policies that do not support survivors. And of course, I can speak best to training. And we really are, I feel this moment in the coalition where, and in the training institute, where we are facing kind of like a pivotal moment,
Yeah.
where we're saying, okay, we have down like these things that we typically do. So like what now? Like what more can we do? And like, cause I said, we really realized during the pandemic, like, I think we have more capacity than we thought we did to be offering more trainings. So we want to offer more trainings. We're working on getting funding to be able to actually provide more trainings. And we are also, we have more funding to take on some big training projects. I'm kind of in the works of thinking of some bigger ideas and some more advanced trainings. I will say that that's some of the feedback we've received throughout the last couple of years is people I think they have gotten more advanced in the last year, but people are still saying like, I know this already. Like, of course, some people it's brand new information to them, but some people are saying, I have been working in this field for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Please give me something really in depth. Like I want to learn something new. And so we're definitely working on that. Um, I am personally creating completely new online modules. So just to provide some quick context for people who may be watching, the domestic violence advocates throughout the state have to complete 40 hours of training. And the content of that is determined in a number of different ways, but primarily by ICDVP, which is the Illinois Certified Domestic Violence Professional Board. And ultimately what matters is just that they have a say kind of in what content is included in those to make sure that you're like a certified site and everything. And one change that they've recently made is kind of some of the standards for what can you include in online modules. Some programs utilize ICADV's 20-hour online modules and use those first, and then do the other 20 hours in person. And so ours are changing because of those new standards. And so creating completely new online modules that will hopefully have less technical issues and will have better like be better for different learning types and be more interactive. That's a big project. And then finally, just trying to tie in our trainings to public education a bit more. Right now they feel a little separate, but I would like to bring those together a little bit and be able to offer some curriculum around like very specific aspects of domestic violence so that people who aren't familiar can request us, we can come to their organization, really just developing a lot of new things within the next couple of years. Yeah.
That's exciting because it sounds like you get a chance to build it out and make it more robust and more advanced even. I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't thought about that. You're right. In domestic violence, we have new professionals, mid-career professionals, and then senior level professionals that have been doing this a long time. So that idea of there needs to be varied trainings, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be awesome. So Emily, are there some things that you want to make sure that you make mention of about the Illinois Coalition Against Domestic Violence? Anything you want to add to the conversation?
I feel like you've done a really good job of asking questions. I like can't even think about additional things. I think the only thing is that one of the things that we're always trying to do at ICADV is get more funding to open new positions. And we have been working on that, and we've been able to fill a few brand new positions that we either never had or maybe haven't had in a long time, that are really important to specific aspects of this work and building partnerships with people. And I would say if anybody ever finds themselves wanting to do this kind of work, obviously you now know there are like over 50 member programs throughout the state, and that's not even probably everybody. There are probably some domestic violence programs that aren't members of the coalition. And if you wanted to do some like not direct service, but maybe working like at the ICADV staff level, like I said, we're trying to bring new positions to staff so people can reach out to us if they have interested in joining the team. And I think I love where I work. I can't see myself leaving. I just feel so passionate about it, and I just want people to know that they can come too.
That's awesome. And if people are interested, can you or just share the website for the organization again? And if there's a social media handle, can you share that as well?
Yes. So the website is ilcadv.org. So there's an L in there because there is like,
Already one, yeah.
yeah. So ilcadv.org. That's the website. And I honestly don't know our handles off the top of my head, but I'm sure they're linked on our website. And I can maybe send that to you after or something, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's okay. Can you, for organizations that may want to become a member, how can they do that?
I would also just, I would reach out to us. I would say email. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give another one that's not gonna be easy to remember. There's probably something on our website too. So like if you poke around on our website, I do feel like somewhere there's like a link to get more information about joining the coalition, because you don't have to be a member organization. You can be a friend of the coalition or a community partner. So there are a lot of different ways to like be part of the coalition and support our work. And so I do believe that's on the website, but you could also email ilcadv
Okay.
at ilcadv.org.
Okay.
And that would reach us. That would definitely reach us.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to go to Celeste and just see. Sometimes people will drop some questions in the chat. Celeste, are there any questions for us in the chat today?
Let me double check. No questions so far, Lysandra.
Okay, awesome. So Emily, this has been great. I think that people have gotten a very thorough understanding of the Illinois Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the Leadership Academy, which I'm thoroughly enjoying again, and I'm so grateful for. And I think that just you guys are doing a comprehensive work. It's exciting to see that there have been goals that have been accomplished to the extent that you can now say, what else can we do? What more can we
Yeah.
do? That's amazing. That's a
Yeah.
great news. So thank you again. Thank you for being with us today. And we're going to drop the emails that you sent, and definitely we're going to drop the organization's web address in the chat, or in on this post on Facebook. If there's nothing else, we're going to wrap up. Celeste, if there's no other questions in the chat, we're going to wrap up.
All righty. Yep. No more questions.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. And thank you to everyone that has joined us this afternoon. Make sure you share this interview. There are many people that may need this information and are interested in joining the coalition or just being a part of the domestic violence movement. So be sure to share this with your networks, and be sure to join us next month for another episode of What's the Tea? Same time, same place, different tea. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.